Welcome everyone to Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Quantum Leap Season 1, Episode 5. It is called How the Tess Was Won, August 5th, 1956. So, full spoilers for the episode. Before we get started here, there will not be a review next week, and then the week after that, the new show is back. So this is kind of our mid-season one break for the next little while, because the new show will be back again. So we'll be doing the new show until that's on a break or finished for the season, and then we'll come back to this. So that's the plan. But we're taking 1 week off for Christmas. So
yay! Merry Christmas.
Yes, well, to us, not to you, but to us.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, we're here to talk about Sam as the cowboy. Well, actually, he's not really a cowboy. He's actually a vet, but he is trying to win over the heart of a cowgirl in 1956, and some of the premise of this one does feel very dated and kind of silly. How quickly, like, immediately Tess and her father start this bet where our introduction to these two characters is that he's saying, Tess, I raised you too much to be a cowboy, and you have to be a woman. You have to be a woman, Tess. You understand? You have to get married. It's like, I don't want to get married. No one can keep up with me. So they make this bet where if any of the guys who work on this ranch, because they're in Texas, can keep up with her, and by that, out, horse rider, out, cattle herd, poker, drinking, for some reason they're included, even though they're not really, part of the job, then she'll marry them after a week. And she picks the doctor, which is Sam's character, as the subject. And
she picks him because she knows that he'll fail.
Yes, that's the idea. But and Sam, and obviously by the end we find out that this is incorrect, assumes that, and again with some prodding from Al and Ziggy, thinks that he has to win her over, and that's why he's here in this sleep. But in actual fact, she's destined to be with someone else by the end of the episode, and that's kind of the path that it goes down, which I did appreciate in the sense that it kind of it made all of his effort to try and win her over, it put it into a new context by the end, because it was all oh, he made all these assumptions and kind of pulled it off, and it only to find out, oh shit, I wasn't really meant to be doing this. Off you go. go with this other man who you're clearly supposed to be with.
Yeah, if this was the new show, I think that the obvious thing to do would be to instead of participating in the contest, would be to try to convince her father that a contest is really degrading and stupid and humiliating. And
yes, that's right. That's it though. I will say that it's not quite as bad as it read when we read the description.
No,
because
it's not.
Because it sounded like this was a traditional thing or something, and he was going to be competing with other cowboys, whereas this was more something that she thought up as a challenge to her father to prove that she doesn't need a man. And I was like, okay, that's a bit better. It's still a little bit contrived, to give him this contest, but it wasn't quite as dated as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and Sam definitely does not want to do it because he sees it as archaic even, and
also degrading.
Is only prodded to do it through Al because they think, well, Ziggy says you have to do this to leap, so I guess you have to do this. And then also, even at the end, by the end of the episode, Sam is going to win the contest, and he still is just but I don't want to, because that's not how you're supposed to fall in love with people.
Yeah, he thinks it's degrading. And it's almost like this weird role reversal where she feels humiliated having to chase after him, and her dad's like, maybe you should chase after him. Stop being a cowboy, be a woman, go and try and win his heart. And you can sort of maybe tear that comment apart a little bit, but it is kind of she's been degrading him all week and making him jump through all these hoops, and he's like, you know what? I just proved that I won. I rode the horse that no one else can ride, the Widowmaker, and I'm declining your invite to marriage. I did it to prove that I could. In fact, the exact line he says is, I came here to ride the horse, not you. And leaves.
In front of her father, too.
Yes.
That's ballsy, Sam. I guess he's like, well, it's not my body if I get punched.
Yeah. And, and her dad immediately goes, you have to chase after him, which, feels like an interesting reaction. It's not there's another dodgy line he has as well. There's a whole, so the first thing he really wins at against her is they're planting posts or something.
You're building a fence, yeah.
And she gets like heat stroke and gets dehydrated, and he has to like take her back to his place. There was a little bit of a Franklin Babylon 5 moment where she's like, but why did you bring me here? He's like, oh, it was closer than your place, which in this case it's probably true because like this is like out in the
he says like 55 acres or something of land. And also Sam is a doctor, and she needs to get some like fluids in her. You know, she needs to cool down as soon as possible. So yeah, it makes more sense than Franklin being like,
I'm not saying
this is closer, but it's not like an emergency.
That said though, there was a moment when he puts her on his couch and just immediately rips her shirt open to reveal her bra, and I went, wait, Sam, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, it doesn't come off as like sexual though, because we already know that Sam went to medical school.
Yeah.
And so like he's just gone into doctor mode.
It's less how he does it, because he's very determined just to like get her clothes off again, and it feels very much like he believes this is the right course of action, but the way the camera's just like in the perfect position to get a good look felt a bit skeevy.
Yeah, that's true. The episode could have done a better job with that.
Like,
it is like he just rips her shirt open and it's just breast. I mean, she's wearing a bra, but it's still like a surprise. It's almost shocking when it happens, because you're like, I don't expect to see this in this show. Yeah,
he basically, these Supermans are.
Yeah.
Instead of the S.
Oh yeah, that shirt's done.
It's the
buttons are everywhere. We'll never be able to find them.
Yeah. And he's got a line. The line here did make me laugh though, because it's just the way he phrases it. It's just slightly dirty sounding. Where instead of saying she needs to get fluids in her, which would be fine, he says, I need to get fluids in her, which I just thought sounded a bit dirty. maybe that's just my juvenile mind, but that sounded a bit the kinky side to me. But...
No, he's still in doctor mode. It was okay.
Yeah, okay. You just got like Sam can do no wrong in your eyes.
Yes, Sam's a good boy.
So. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I thought this was more entertaining than the last episode, even though I don't necessarily think I like the premise of it that much, but it was definitely not as boring as the nun who wanted them to box.
Yeah, the boxing stuff was fun, but I think the nun stuff drags it down.
This at least...
This one is, like, I think the acting's really good in it. I do think, like, the writing's pretty good in it, too. Sam's constant, like, trying to be challenged and overcoming that is pretty fun. There's a lot going on in the episode that still makes it really entertaining.
It's just entertaining because of the banter back and forth with her, and there's kind of a playful nature to it, or even when he's like they're at the poker game and Al gives him some intel that the guy's cheating, but it looks like he's an idiot for a minute, but then we find out he was cheating, but he was kind of passing his cheating hand to Tess so that she could win, because he wants her to win the competition because he's in love with her, and so on and so on. And that stuff's all, it's all fine, but it's really just the banter between him and her that makes it entertaining. And there's also like another little twist that ties it to history, which I have to admit, I had to look up who this guy was, because I had no idea who sang Peggy Sue.
Yeah, it's Buddy Holly, right?
Yeah, it's Buddy Holly. I looked it up.
Well, I didn't know that he sang Peggy Sue, but I recognize like the look of the kid. Like, oh, he looks like Buddy Holly. Because Buddy Holly always had those glasses and like this greaser hair. Sure.
For a second, I realized that the timeline was off because he was already an adult by this point, I'm sure. But for a second, I thought, is this going to be Elvis? Like, because they did this thing where Sam didn't know his name and he kept having to like disguise the fact that he didn't know the kid's name. And I thought, oh, they're going to reveal that he's someone. Like, he's a musician because he's always playing the guitar. So they're going to reveal that he's someone later on. And sure enough.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
About this timeline.
Uh-huh.
So the twist is that this kid is Buddy Holly. Mm-hmm. And he keeps trying to come up with the lyrics to the song that he's got in his head. And Sam's calling a pig at the end. He's like, Piggy, Suey, Suey, Piggy, Piggy. You know, the standard cowboy pig call. And the kid starts singing.
Whoa. Before you move on. Is that a standard cowboy pig call? Because I've never heard it in my life before. Okay.
Suey? Yeah. That's what people used to call pigs. They say Suey. So, anyway, so eventually, like, the kid starts singing Piggy Suey, Piggy Suey. And it sounds like Piggy Sue. And Sam and Al kind of look at each other and then look back at the kid and says, why don't you try Peggy Sue? And then the kid gets it. So Sam gives the kid the idea to sing Peggy Sue.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
And that's the reason that he leaps.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that the moment he leaps is right after he does this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Meaning that in his timeline, does somebody else sing that song?
Well,
because that song already exists in his timeline.
Well, no, Joe, what this is? Joe, what this is?
So what is he changing?
No, Joe, he's making sure things happen as they should, right? Which begs the question that he's not necessarily changing things always. It's that something... this almost fixes the problem of like things having changed in the future, potentially, is that everything's always what it was supposed to be for him, but when he goes back, it's because the timeline was going to change, and he makes sure it fixes. Like it's like when he leaps, he goes into a timeline where something has changed. So it's changed.
So it's changed because of the episode where he was on in 53 when he was a test pilot, and somehow Buddy Holly never came up with the lyrics for Peggy Sue. It's the butterfly effect that he has to go back and fix.
I guess what I'm saying is that he's always changing things back to how they should be. Rather than just changing history, he's changing things back to what they're supposed to be every time. I mean, I'm not really being serious with that suggestion, but that's what this. That's what this. But
I don't hate it.
Joe, what this is though? This moment. It's your cousin, Marvin Berry. You look at that new sound you're looking for? Listen to this. That's what this moment is.
Sure, yeah.
That's a Back to the Future reference for anyone who didn't get it.
Right. Which also makes me think, does that mean that the that Chuck Berry never sang that song in Marty McFly's original timeline?
No, he did. In Back to the Future is very clearly like this. What do you call it? What's the word? When you have like you make a sort of loop. It's oh god, the words escape me. Tara, what are you here for? Come on, what's the word?
I don't know.
It spins with a P.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh god, what's the word when you mess up the timeline and then the things can't...
A paradox?
A paradox, that's the word. Damn it, Tara, why'd you take so long? Yes, it's
your brain, man.
It's a paradox, but no, it's just maybe this circular thing where, like, you know, like he kind of some people call that a plot hole in Back to the Future because, like, technically that messes up the timeline because, like, he's heard the song and that's what makes him write the song. But, like, don't worry, it's just a cute little joke. Just don't worry about it.
It is, yeah. I mean, yeah, I still love Back to the Future regardless, but I've never thought about it before.
Yeah. And I think here, obviously, like we're still sort of figuring out the rules to things, and we're still talking about like what these leaps actually are. But this one would suggest that at least some of these leaps, he's just ensuring the thing that was supposed to happen still happens, which then makes me think, well, is this future where, you know, so and so died and he's meant to save them? Like, was it that way before he started leaping, or did history change because he's like fractured the timeline by leaping? And he's going around fixing all the things that he's broken by doing this.
That's interesting.
I don't know. Just a thought. Let's talk about Al. Al Calavici.
He's got a lot going on.
Well,
he's stressed out, you know.
Well, I love that his plot in this episode that he's very upset about is that he's worried that Tina is cheating on him. But what gets me is that he thinks that she cheated on him whilst he was away cheating on her with another woman. And he is like hurt by this. He's outraged by this.
Well, maybe this is his first sign that there's something wrong with the way he thinks here.
Yes, because he starts talking about how Tina's got a tattoo of her name, but it's on a very private part. And then he gets really like, "Hey Sam, have you seen her tattoo? Have you seen?" And he's like, I don't remember who Tina is. Which, by the way, like, they play really fast and loose with what he, because as soon as he has to ride a horse, he starts like narrating about how, oh, my father taught me how to ride a horse, and he told me how to do this and that. I'm like, what?
Maybe riding a horse is kind of like riding a bicycle. You never forget.
He just like, sometimes it just feels like he seems to remember every detail of this lesson because it's relevant to this moment. He needs to be able to do it, but you know.
Maybe Sam's playing a long game here. Maybe he actually does remember everything.
Yeah, maybe him and Tina were having.
Maybe he has to hide behind his Swiss cheese brain, like Al suggests here.
Him and Tina were having a raunchy. That's why he left, because he knew that Al was going to find out eventually. So he's like,
I'm telling you that project is so horny. It is just like every time I think about what's happening at the project, I definitely just imagine the scene from RoboCop where he wakes up during the New Year's party and all the scientists are like making out with each other. That's the project. That's what's going on over in New Mexico.
That's almost a shame that the new version isn't just like an orgy the whole time when they were in the present day.
Everyone's like super nice to each other. And
they're all very like NBC TV safe, you know? Like, we're all just very nice and pleasant to each other. We care about each other's feelings.
Gushy is the one that Tina's run off with to Vegas. And I don't know if you remember the guy in the pilot episode who says he's leaping.
Is that Gushy?
That's Gushy.
Okay.
He's got bad breath.
Yeah. And Al gets upset at one point because he thinks they've went to Vegas, and he's like, "But our Vegas?" So I'm like, "What? You and Tina like stuck a claim to Vegas? What?"
I want to say there's more than one Tina, because I think Tina is the person that he picks up in the car in the first episode. And obviously, she never met Sam.
Yeah. Is this like Linda in Evil Dead, where like there's like every girl, every woman that Ash has dated in the Evil Dead franchise has been named Linda, but they're all different Lindas.
Yes.
Which they started
like a Tammy and Ron Swanson thing.
Yeah, which they started acknowledging in the show, because at one point it says, my first Linda." Maybe that's what Tina's like. Maybe there's actually, like, if you actually track all the times he mentions Tina throughout the whole show, which I'm assuming he's going to do through the whole thing, maybe it only makes sense if there's at least 9 Tinas.
I'm thinking there's at least 2.
Yeah, okay.
Or somehow there's been a timeline change because of Sam's leap that has resulted in a different Tina being in Al's life.
Hey, that would be really fun. Like, that's something that other like time travel shows and stories have played with, is the idea that the future, that say someone travels back, like the show I watched on Netflix a few years ago, which is really good. It's 3 seasons, called Travelers, and it's about these time travelers who sort of travel back into people's bodies from the future, and they're trying to like save the world because like everything's like went to sort of it's not a robot apocalypse of Terminator, but it's very Terminator in that the world's went to shit, and they're trying to like, you know, stop all the problems that are going to lead to the world like dying and whatnot. But there's this idea that once they've changed enough things and more people from the future keep coming back, is that eventually the people who have arrived like a year later are saying the future is not quite what the future they left originally, because they've changed enough things that, you know, things have played out differently. So the idea that Sam changes some things, so the Al that's coming back from the future is actually slightly different from the Al that we saw last time, because the timeline has changed a little bit, you know. So, you know, there is something to that idea. That
is a theory that people have for the show, because the whole mind leap versus body leap seems to switch around a bunch of times. And it's well, maybe it's just different because Sam's changed the timeline.
So the actual technology of the leap is changing backwards and forwards because of the timeline changing.
Yes. We just
that's funny. That's funny.
We'll go to any length to make things work.
Now, I suspect they weren't actually trying to imply any of this with the Tina thing, but as science fiction fans and time travel fans, I think it is an interesting thought to like bring up and, you know, ponder as to maybe it's something to do with what's going on.
Yeah. No, yeah. Totally.
So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so it's an okay episode. Like I think like it was more entertaining than the last one, but I don't necessarily like the plot that much. But it was entertaining through it. I was always entertained by the characters.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I watched this, and like the first scene you get where our cowgirl is like talking about how she doesn't need any man, even Wayne, which is like pans over to this like age appropriate, super handsome cowboy guy. I'm like, I see where this is going.
It's pretty obvious, yeah. It's pretty obvious that he's in love with her and whatnot.
Yeah.
I felt quite bad for the doctor that he's in, right? Because one, like, Al kind of like throws some shade. They don't reveal what he looks like until the end of the episode. It's like, oh, he's kind of a, he's not like a handsome man, which I thought, okay, that's a bit mean. But also,
I mean, he's not like traditionally handsome, but he's not like ugly.
Yeah, but I also thought though, but in the process of trying to win over Tess, when he thought he was supposed to win over Tess, he literally shows her like this guy's diary where he's like saying that he's in love with Tess, and all I can think is when this guy's like back in his own body and she's off marrying,
is he gonna be completely humiliated?
Yeah, like you've completely shattered his life by showing her this.
Well, that's not what God, time, fate, or whatever wanted.
I love that you have to always say God, time, or fate. We're not sure which, but one of them.
Yeah, GTFW. That's the slang for it. God, time, fate, or whatever.
Oh dear. So yeah, but it was not bad. It was not a bad episode. But
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed. I think the girl who plays Tess is really good in this, and I think that helps a lot. Her and Sam back and forth is very good.
Yeah. So he leaves at the end. And there's not much context here other than he seems to have just had sex with a woman who he's not supposed to have had sex with. That's the only real thing I got from this, is because they're in like an attic and she's like, oh, I need to go, like, well, they'll notice I'm missing soon, and I'm like, is this her Wednesday or something? Like that's what it feels like. It feels like
she definitely has some sort of dress on, but it wasn't a wedding dress.
Was it a wedding dress? Okay. Maybe she's a bridesmaid or something. I don't know. Might not be the bride. But it felt like that sort of thing where like, they're at some sort of event and they're not supposed to be. So she's probably married or something.
She also sounds very like American Italian, which probably means mop.
We could go down. It'll be like we're comparing it Back to the Future. This one because of the music thing. Maybe this one next episode it'll be all Godfather references. Like, you come here at my what was it?
On the day of my daughter's wedding.
Was a daughter? Yeah, I think it's a parody of Godfather who does it's like my second cousin niece's wedding or something. Like it's a really like convoluted.
I mean, I watched Godfather for the first time this year, and I felt like I had already seen it because so much of it's been parodied so often.
Yeah, but it's so good.
Nothing seems surprised to me.
Yeah, but it's a masterclass of a film. Like it's so good.
It was great. I still haven't watched the sequel. I meant to watch it like a couple weeks ago. I was going to put it on, but it's like, so daunting.
It's very long.
It's a heavy watch.
It's a long movie. A lot of people will say Godfather 2 is the better film. I actually prefer the first one. I think the first one's a tighter story. I like the first one more. But 2 is very good. 2 is very good.
I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, the first movie wasn't really a shock because it's been parodied so much. But I don't know anything else about. I don't know if Godfather 2 or 3 has been parodied.
What's
the
funny,
only thing I know is what happens to Fredo, just because of osmosis of pop culture.
What's funny is that no one really likes 3, but 3 actually has the most quoted line of the Godfather trilogy, which is just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Yeah. That's from Godfather 3, and no one likes that movie. Like that. Really,
no one likes it. I heard people like it. They just like it less because of Sofia Coppola.
I had no problem with it. I just remember it being boring and dull. Like, the first 2 are these like seminal films, and the third one is just kind of like, oh, this just exists.
Well, I'll find out soon. We'll probably we'll continue this Godfather conversation next time. I mean, it'll be a little while, so maybe I'll watch the movies.
Oh, maybe you'll have like a day around Christmas. It's a day for a long movie.
I wish I could have watched that whatever the cut was that came out to like HBO for a little while. Oh no,
I disagree with that. You shouldn't watch the Godfather the first time that way, because it ruins the pacing, and it ruins it was released originally to be 2 separate films, and you're basically taking scenes from the second one that are meant to be flashbacks and putting them first, and I don't think that. Like, it's like watching Memento in chronological order. I'm like, it's like a gimmicky thing to do after you've already seen it, sure, but you should never watch it that way the first time because it defeats the whole point.
Well, I still would appreciate if it was available. I don't think it's available anymore.
Oh, sure.
Same with like the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. I want to watch that.
Yeah, but that was never available.
I know, but I missed it, and now it's gone forever.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone off.
Like, one day Tarantino will bless us, okay? But I want the Abyss in 4K first, right? Just if we're getting a wish list out there, the Abyss in 4K. Jim, your water movie's out. Go back to your original water movie.
Come on.
Give me the Abyss in 4K, you bastard. All right, that is our thoughts on Quantum Leap. Thank you very much for joining us. You can obviously support all the content by becoming a member on the YouTube, hitting the super thanks button, or of course the most popular option, go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us over there on a monthly basis and helping keep all the content coming. But that is us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, keep watching Quantum Leap, and I really like Sam. I can't wait till he makes it home someday.